Evelyn Carter stood at the edge of the observation deck on the orbital station above Earth. Below her, the blue planet glimmered like a jewel in the darkness of space. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, but tonight none of them mattered. All she could think about were the messages she had received, the images she had seen, and the weight of the task ahead. She was the last human diplomat willing to enter the halls of the Galactic Council after the betrayal. Everyone else had withdrawn. Everyone else had refused to speak. The Treaty of Sol had been humanity's hope for peace. 20 years ago, humans and the alien coalition known as the Virel Alliance had signed it after decades of conflict. The agreement promised mutual respect, shared resources, and open trade between worlds. Humans had trusted the aliens. Even when some on Earth warned that the Virel could never be fully trusted, humanity had sent scientists to their worlds, shared medical advancements, and opened its ports to alien trade. The Virel had agreed to share information about their technology, but that trust had been broken. The first reports came from the Epsilon sector, a distant group of colonies on the edge of human-controlled space. Communications had gone dark. Then images arrived. Cities that had been thriving just days before were reduced to rubble. Human settlers lay in the streets lifeless. Ships were burned or torn apart in orbit. The evidence was clear. The Virel Alliance had launched a coordinated attack. At first, the Council claimed it was a rogue faction acting without approval. The official statements were full of vague apologies and promises to investigate. But the intercepted transmissions told another story. Orders had come from the Virel High Command itself. Several top officials in the Council had known about the assault and allowed it to happen. Humanity had been betrayed, and the Council had lied to cover it up. The United Earth government responded swiftly. All human diplomats were recalled from the Council chambers. The communication channels were cut. Trade agreements were suspended. Every human ambassador withdrew, leaving the Virel to face their own conscience or their own arrogance alone. Except for Evelyn. She had requested to remain. Some thought she was reckless. Others admired her courage. Evelyn had spent her entire career in diplomacy, known for her calm voice and sharp mind. She had a reputation for facing impossible situations and speaking truth to power. Now she carried a single mission: to deliver humanity's reckoning. She carried no weapons, no fleet, only her presence, her words, and the undeniable truth of what had been done. The station's alarm sounded softly, signaling the arrival of her transport ship. Evelyn adjusted her coat and straightened her posture. There was no room for fear now, only resolve. As she stepped aboard the sleek vessel, the hum of the engines vibrating beneath her feet, she thought of the colonies she had seen destroyed on the holographic transmissions. Faces frozen in terror, homes vanished in an instant, families gone. She had no personal connection to all of them, yet she felt their pain as if it belonged to her. The ship lifted off, leaving the familiar orbit of Earth behind. Stars stretched before her, and the hum of the engines was the only sound. No one spoke. She checked the coordinates. The central citadel of Auralis. That was where the Council met, the heart of their power. It was distant, massive, and imposing. A city floating among the stars, shining with white towers and golden bridges. She would enter there as a single human among dozens of alien species, all expecting fear. She would give them something far stronger. Time passed slowly as the ship moved through hyperspace. Evelyn reviewed the evidence again. Encrypted transmissions between the Virel High Command and their forces. Images of destroyed human colonies. Official Council records showing their approval of actions they now denied. Each piece of evidence was damning, and each one carried the weight of human lives. She imagined walking into the Council chamber and placing these facts in front of the delegates. She would speak softly but firmly. Every word she said would carry the power of billions of human voices. When the ship exited hyperspace, the citadel of Auralis was in view. It floated in a field of asteroids, shining with lights that reflected in the dark void of space. The transport docked, and Evelyn stepped off, her boots echoing softly against the metal floor. Alien guards watched her closely, their bodies tall and strange, their eyes glowing faintly in colors she had never seen. They said nothing. Their presence was a reminder of the power she was facing. She was escorted through vast halls of polished metal and shining stone. The alien delegates whispered to each other as she passed, but none dared to block her path. The Council chamber awaited. It was enormous, with high ceilings and platforms for each species to sit and speak. The walls were transparent in parts, revealing the stars outside, and a massive holographic display floated in the center. Evelyn walked steadily, her mind clear. She carried no weapon, no army, only the knowledge that she had to be the voice of humanity. Sirac, the speaker of the Virile, was waiting. He was taller than most humans, with dark skin that shimmered slightly, and eyes that seemed to pierce the air. He inclined his head slightly when Evelyn entered, but his expression was unreadable. He had expected fear. He had expected submission. He had not expected resolve. The other delegates murmured as she approached. They whispered about her audacity. One of them, a green-scaled alien from the Othari sector, laughed softly. Evelyn ignored it. She set her evidence on the central table, the images glowing softly on the holographic display. Zirac's eyes narrowed as he saw them. He did not speak immediately. Evelyn began calmly. 20 years ago, humanity trusted the Galactic Council. We shared knowledge, trade, and hope. We believed in peace, and you betrayed that trust. You allowed human colonies to be destroyed. You let lives end in fire, and now you ask for forgiveness. She paused. Forgiveness is earned, not demanded. Peace is not built on lies. You cannot claim innocence when the evidence is clear. The room grew silent. Alien delegates looked at each other. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Zirac leaned forward. These accusations are serious, he said. Are you certain of their truth? The Council has already explained that this was a rogue faction, not the decision of the entire alliance. Evelyn's voice did not waver. I am certain. Every message, every order, every image proves otherwise. The Virile High Command knew. You allowed the destruction of human lives. You violated the Treaty of Sol. Humanity did not start this war. You did, and now you will answer for it. A murmur spread through the chamber. Delegates whispered rapidly. Some were angry. Others were afraid. Evelyn watched them, seeing the truth sink in. The Virile had underestimated humans. They had thought diplomacy meant weakness. But humans were not weak. They were patient, and they remembered. Zirac's eyes blazed. You are alone, he said. Your words cannot change the galaxy. Humanity is but one species among many. You think you can threaten the Council with what? Evelyn leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but firm. Not threat, warning, justice is coming. Humanity has united. Our fleets are prepared. Not to negotiate. Not to beg. But to ensure that betrayal is answered. The galaxy will witness what happens when trust is destroyed and lives are taken without reason. The chamber was silent again. Zirac tried to smile, but it was forced. Evelyn knew he had been counting on fear. He had not expected truth. She did not speak loudly. She did not shout. She simply stood, her presence steady, her eyes unwavering, and let the weight of her words sink into the room. Outside the chamber, the stars seemed to shimmer differently. In the distance, human warships had begun to move into position, unseen by most of the Council but known to Evelyn. They would arrive at the right time. For now she was the voice of billions, and that voice was clear. Humanity had been wronged, and the reckoning had begun. Evelyn did not fear what was coming. She had seen the aftermath of betrayal. She had seen human colonies destroyed. She had seen the cost of inaction. Her duty was not to avenge. It was to ensure that the galaxy knew the truth and that justice would follow, and she would see it done no matter what obstacles stood in her way. The delegates stared at her. Some tried to look unconcerned. Some whispered frantically. But all of them knew deep down that the balance had shifted. Humanity was no longer a species to be taken lightly. And Evelyn Carter, standing alone among 1,000 voices, was the embodiment of that resolve. The session ended, but the message had been delivered. Evelyn did not leave immediately. She stayed, walking slowly among the seats of the Council chamber, allowing each delegate to feel the weight of her presence. When she finally turned to leave, the room was quiet. No one followed. No one dared. She had spoken for humanity, and now the next step would unfold. As she returned to her transport, Evelyn looked out at the stars once more. Somewhere out there, the human fleets were preparing. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was about to see that when humans were wronged, they did not just wait for justice, they made it happen. And Evelyn Carter would be there to deliver it. Evelyn Carter moved through the halls of the central citadel of Auralis with careful steps. The walls were smooth and cold, shining under soft lights that glowed like pale sunlight. Aliens of every shape and color moved around her, watching her closely. Some whispered in voices she could not understand. Some just stared. Every step she took reminded her that she was alone. She was the only human walking these halls, carrying humanity's truth. The chamber of the Galactic Council came into view. It was enormous. Platforms rose in tiers, each designed for a different alien species. Lights floated above every seat, and a massive holographic display hovered in the center. The ceiling seemed to stretch into infinity, and the walls curved around like the inside of a giant shell. The hum of the building filled her ears. It was quiet, but it held power. This was where decisions that affected entire galaxies were made. Xerak, the speaker of the Viral Alliance, sat at the center platform, his tall body glinting slightly under the lights. His eyes, dark and glowing faintly, followed Evelyn as she approached. He had waited for fear, for hesitation, for submission. He would not find it. Evelyn walked steadily to the central area and placed her evidence on the table. Holograms of destroyed human colonies flickered to life, showing cities reduced to rubble and ships torn apart in space. The other delegates began to murmur. Some leaned forward, trying to understand what they were seeing. Evelyn lifted her voice so that it carried calmly through the chamber. The Treaty of Sol was meant to protect life, to build peace between our species. Humanity kept our part of that promise. We shared knowledge, opened our doors, and trusted the Council to keep its word. And yet you betrayed us. You allowed human colonies to be destroyed. Thousands of lives were lost. This was not the action of a rogue faction. It was an order from the Viral High Command, approved by members of this council. The evidence is clear. You cannot hide from it. The room grew silent. Even the whispers stopped. Evelyn's calm voice carried a weight that no one expected. Some delegates leaned back in their seats. Some clenched their hands. Xerak narrowed his eyes, his face unreadable. You present serious accusations, Xerak said at last, his voice low but firm. Are you certain of these claims? The council has already investigated and explained that this attack was the work of a rogue group acting independently. Your evidence could be fabricated. Evelyn shook her head slowly. Fabricated? Every transmission, every order, every image is authentic. We have verified them with multiple sources. These messages come from your own command. Your approval is clear. Humanity was betrayed. Trust was destroyed. Peace was broken. You cannot claim innocence. The chamber murmured again, louder this time. Delegates whispered urgently among themselves. Some aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Evelyn could see the small signs of panic. The Viral had expected her to speak yes, but they had expected weakness. They had not expected the truth spoken without fear. Xerak rose slightly from his seat, his hands gripping the edge of the platform. You are alone. Your species does not have the strength to challenge the Council. Do you believe that your words can sway us? Do you think you can threaten the entire galaxy? Evelyn stepped forward just a little, her calm voice unshaken. Not threat, warning, humanity has united. Our fleets are prepared. We do not come to negotiate. We do not come to beg. We come to ensure that betrayal is answered. Justice will be done. You will see what happens when trust is broken and lives are taken without reason. The chamber fell silent again. Some delegates lowered their heads, whispering to each other. Others tried to hide expressions of fear. Evelyn continued, letting the weight of her words fill the room. We do not seek revenge for the sake of vengeance. We seek to restore balance. You signed the Treaty of Sol and you violated it. Humanity will not forget. The Council cannot ignore the truth. This is not just our warning. It is our claim to justice. A soft laugh broke the tension. A delegate from the Athari sector leaned back in his seat. You speak with great courage for one so small, he said. Do you truly think a single species can hold the Council accountable? You think words are enough? Evelyn did not flinch. She looked directly at him. Words are the beginning. They are the proof, and they are the warning. The fleets are not words. The fleets are action. What follows these words will be seen by all. The galaxy will know that betrayal carries a price. Xerak's voice rose slightly, trembling with anger. You insult the Council. You accuse us without mercy. Do you think your species can survive such defiance? Evelyn's calm did not waver. I do not speak of survival. I speak of truth. And truth is stronger than any threat. Humanity will endure. We have endured worse than this, and we will endure what comes next. The Viral High Command has broken its word. That is enough to make history remember you, not us. The chamber buzzed with whispers. Evelyn could see the change in the delegates' expressions. The mask of confidence they wore began to slip. Some tried to argue, but their voices sounded small, uncertain. The evidence was undeniable. The images of destroyed colonies glowed in the air, and they spoke louder than any delegate could. One Virel official finally stood. "If what you say is true, then the High Command is guilty. But the Council cannot act on the word of one human. You ask us to punish our own leaders on your command?" Evelyn shook her head. "I do not command. I present the truth. The High Command has acted. The Council allowed it. Justice does not wait for permission. The galaxy will see what is done here. The question is whether the Council will stand with truth or hide behind lies." A murmur of agreement spread through several seats. Not all, but enough to make the Virel uneasy. They had not counted on dissent within their own ranks. Evelyn could feel the balance shifting. The whispers grew louder. Aliens from other sectors leaned forward, watching the human closely. Some nodded subtly. Some looked shocked. Zirak slammed his hands on the platform. "Enough, you are alone. Humanity is isolated. You cannot hope to change the course of the Council with words." Evelyn took a deep breath. She did not raise her voice, but every word carried strength. "You underestimated humanity. You thought patience and diplomacy meant weakness. You were wrong. You thought we would forgive without proof. You were wrong. You thought we would stand down without witnesses. You were wrong. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive betrayal." The chamber was still again. Some delegates shifted in fear. Others looked at each other in disbelief. Even Zarek hesitated, the first sign of uncertainty she had seen. Evelyn continued calmly but firmly. "I have presented the evidence. The truth cannot be denied. The Council must act or humanity will act for itself. This is not a threat. This is the reality of your choices." For a moment no one spoke. Then a delegate from a distant sector, small and covered in silver scales, whispered, "She speaks with the weight of her people." Others nodded subtly. Murmurs grew. The Virel were no longer sure they could control the room. Their authority was being questioned, and they could feel it. Zirak's hands trembled slightly as he leaned forward. You are dangerous, human. Not because of your strength, but because of your words. You have sown doubt. You have reminded us that truth exists." Evelyn stepped back slightly, her expression unchanged. "Dangerous is only a word. I am human. But humanity's patience has limits. You have broken our trust. The fleets will arrive soon. Your decisions now will determine whether the galaxy witnesses justice or chaos. I give you this chance to understand it before it comes." A tense silence followed. The whispers of the delegates filled the room, uneasy and uncertain. Some looked to each other. Some tried to speak, but no words carried the weight Evelyn's calm voice did. She had entered the Council alone and left no doubt about the consequences of betrayal. The balance had shifted. Humanity was no longer a voice in the void. It was a force. Finally, Zarek leaned back in his chair, his glowing eyes fixed on her. "You may leave the chamber for now," he said. "But know this, human. Your words do not change the past. Your words may not change the future. You are alone." Evelyn inclined her head slightly. "I am never alone," she said quietly. "I carry billions of voices with me. And billions will watch. You cannot escape that." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Every step echoed with certainty. Outside, she paused to look at the stars beyond the Citadel's walls. Somewhere, the human fleets were moving into position. Somewhere, the galaxy was beginning to understand that when trust is broken, humanity does not wait for permission. Evelyn Carter, alone, but not powerless, had spoken. She had presented truth where lies had ruled. She had warned where fear had been expected. And she had begun the reckoning. The Council would not ignore her words. The galaxy would not, and humanity would be ready for whatever came next. Evelyn Carter returned to her transport, her boots echoing against the polished floor of the Citadel. She did not rush. Every step she took was deliberate, calm, controlled. The weight of humanity's message had been delivered, but the next stage of the reckoning was about to unfold. Outside, space stretched endlessly. Stars glittered like distant diamonds, but the darkness between them seemed alive. In that darkness, human ships were moving. Thousands of them. The Terran Vanguard fleet, long hidden at the edge of explored space, had received the signal. It was time. Scanners on the Citadel's outer walls picked up the approaching fleet hours later. At first, the delegates saw small blips on the monitoring systems. Then more appeared. Ships of every class, from massive war cruisers to smaller tactical frigates, moved in formation. The aliens whispered among themselves. The council, long confident in its power, suddenly felt the first stirrings of fear. In the observation room above the council chambers, Evelyn watched quietly as human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. Her communicator buzzed softly, and the hologram of Admiral Jason Hale appeared. He was older than Evelyn, with gray streaks in his hair, but his eyes were sharp and full of determination. "They are ready," Hale said simply. "The fleet is in position. No action yet. We follow your lead." Evelyn nodded. "I do not need you to act yet. The council must see this for themselves. Humanity's message is clear. The fleets are not here to negotiate. They are here to witness consequences. That alone will speak louder than any cannon." Hale's eyes narrowed. "You understand the risks. They could attack immediately." "They will not," Evelyn replied. "Not yet. Fear is a tool. They will see us and understand that betrayal carries a price. They will know humanity is patient, but we are not infinite. They will act or suffer the results of inaction. That is all we need." In the council chamber, the delegates had noticed something. Holographic displays of the surrounding space lit up with unusual signals. At first, they thought it was a malfunction. Then the blips multiplied. More ships appeared. The humans were not alone in words. They had power, and that power was undeniable. Zurak's eyes widened as he saw the scale of the fleet. The murmurs grew louder among the delegates. Aliens who had once dismissed humanity as weak now leaned forward, watching in disbelief. The Othari delegate whispered urgently to those nearby, "This is more than they promised. This is a force to be reckoned with." Evelyn entered the chamber once more, her presence calm and unshakable. She did not need to raise her voice. The image of the approaching fleet on the holographic displays spoke for itself. She stood in the center, letting every delegate feel the weight of the truth. "You see what humanity has prepared," she said softly. "We are patient, but we are not blind. We have waited while the Virel Alliance destroyed our colonies. We have waited while your council denied responsibility, and we have prepared. The fleets are not coming to negotiate. They are coming to witness justice. The choice is yours. Act with truth or suffer the consequences of your own decisions." The room erupted into whispers, some delegations in shock, others in fear. Even Zarak's usual calm demeanor faltered. He tried to regain control, waving his hands. "These ships, they cannot block all channels. They cannot attack us in every system." "You are bluffing, human." Evelyn's expression remained unchanged. "I do not bluff. Every ship is prepared. Every fleet has orders. We have calculated every possible move. The Viral High Command betrayed trust, and humanity has learned patience and strategy. We act not from anger, but from necessity. The galaxy will know the consequences of betrayal." From the observation decks, delegates from smaller sectors began to speak. "Perhaps we should reconsider our position," one said quietly. "Humanity is not weak." "Perhaps they speak truth." Another nodded, fear plain in their expression. The council, long accustomed to control, began to fracture under the weight of reality. In the outer space surrounding Aralis, the first dropships moved into position. They were small, fast, and silent, easily capable of breaching defenses if necessary. Sensors on the Citadel picked up their approach and alarms blared. The council scrambled, sending messages to alert the Virel fleet. But there was no immediate attack. Humanity's strategy relied not on immediate destruction but on presence, on proof that betrayal had consequences. Evelyn turned to a young delegate from the Andari sector. He looked anxious, glancing at the massive ships forming a blockade around the Citadel. "This is incredible," he whispered. "They are everywhere." She nodded slightly. "Yes, and they are ready to act if the council does not do what is right. The question is simple. Will you choose truth, or will you continue to hide behind lies?" The murmur in the chamber grew louder. The council's unity began to crumble. Aliens whispered to one another, debating whether to challenge Zurak or follow Evelyn's warning. Some thought of rebellion within their own ranks. Fear had become a tool of change, sharper than any sword. Meanwhile, Evelyn's communicator buzzed again. Admiral Hale's face appeared, this time with a slight smirk. "We have eyes on the high command ships," he said. "They are in position, but they are not moving. They know better than to act without reason. The galaxy is watching, and the council knows it." Evelyn's expression softened slightly. "Good, let them see." Let them understand the weight of what they have done. They will not act until they are ready to face the truth. Back in the chamber, Zarak finally spoke again. His voice was tight, controlled, but trembled slightly. You believe that your presence here, your ships, your words can force the council to act? You are alone. Your species is small. You do not have the authority to dictate our actions. Evelyn met his gaze without flinching. Alone, I carry billions of voices. Alone, I am only the messenger. But the fleets you see outside, they are the reminder that betrayal has a price. Authority is measured not by fear alone, but by truth. You will choose, and you will be remembered for your choice. The chamber remained quiet. Aliens shifted nervously. Some began to speak, quietly questioning the Varel leadership. Doubt had entered the council. The mask of control was cracking. For the first time in decades, the Varel leadership felt the weight of accountability. Outside, the human ships adjusted their positions silently. Each movement was precise, controlled, deliberate. The galaxy watched as the fleets formed a blockade, surrounding the citadel without aggression. The message was clear. Humans were ready, but they sought justice first, not unnecessary bloodshed. Evelyn stepped forward once more. Her voice was calm, clear, and steady. The fleets are here. They are not here to beg. They are not here to negotiate empty promises. They are here to ensure that justice is served. The Varel High Command betrayed trust. The Council allowed it. Humanity has waited long enough. The time for denial is over. Choose truth or face the consequences of betrayal. The chamber was silent. The hum of the citadel filled the air. Every delegate could feel the weight of her words, the presence of billions of humans ready to act. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt had replaced the arrogance that had ruled the Council for decades. The balance had shifted. Humanity was no longer a small voice in the galaxy. It was a force patient, prepared, and unyielding. Zarak's eyes narrowed. He was furious, but he knew instinctively that his usual tactics would not work. He had faced diplomats before, but none like Evelyn Carter. She did not demand. She did not threaten. She simply presented the truth, and the truth carried the weight of billions. For hours, the council debated quietly. Delegates whispered urgently to each other. Some sided with Evelyn's words. Some tried to defend the virile leadership. But the images of destroyed colonies, the evidence of orders, and the presence of the human fleet could not be ignored. The galaxy was witnessing a shift in power, and every observer could see it. Evelyn remained calm throughout. She did not speak unnecessarily. She allowed the delegates to digest the evidence, to understand the message, and to feel the consequences of their actions. The fleets outside, silent but massive, were the proof that humanity did not act from fear, but from preparation, patience, and resolve. By the end of the day, whispers had turned into murmurs of concern. Some delegates approached Zarak privately, urging him to reconsider his stance. The unity of the council was fractured. Fear had replaced arrogance. Humanity had not moved a single ship to attack, yet the message had been received. Evelyn knew the next step would be critical. The council had seen the fleets. They had seen the evidence. They had heard the truth. Now it was up to the virile leadership to decide whether to act with honesty or face the reckoning humanity would deliver. She had done her part. The fleets were ready. The galaxy watched, and soon the consequences of betrayal would begin. Evelyn Carter walked slowly through the halls of the central citadel of Oralis, her boots making soft echoes on the smooth floors. The council chamber awaited, but this time it was different. The alien delegates were no longer whispering about empty threats. The human fleet surrounded their citadel. Every monitor, every sensor confirmed the truth. Humanity was ready. Humanity was waiting. And the Varel Council felt the weight of consequences pressing down on them like a shadow they could not escape. She entered the chamber alone. She did not carry a weapon. She did not carry guards. She carried truth, evidence, and the quiet confidence of billions of humans. The delegates turned to watch her. Their faces, once calm and arrogant, now betrayed tension. Some shifted nervously. Others leaned forward, whispering urgently. Even Zarak, the speaker of the Varel, seemed unsettled, though he tried to hide it. Evelyn placed the holographic evidence back on the central table. Images of destroyed human colonies floated in the air. Ships in orbit, towns reduced to ash, families lost. The evidence was clear and undeniable. She looked at the council calmly. You have seen the fleets. You have seen the truth. I have spoken for humanity. The moment for denial is over. Your choice now will define your legacy. Serac rose slowly, his glowing eyes fixed on her. You believe that one human alone can decide the fate of the council? Do you think words alone can compel action? You underestimate us. Evelyn's gaze did not falter. I do not speak alone. I am the voice of billions. You have betrayed trust, allowed human lives to be destroyed, and now you must answer. The fleets are here not to beg, not to negotiate empty promises. They are here to enforce accountability. You cannot hide behind your arrogance any longer. A murmur spread across the chamber. Some delegates whispered in disbelief. Others looked down at their data pads, checking the status of the fleets themselves. The presence of the human armada made the council uneasy. Humanity had shown patience for decades, but they had prepared quietly. Now the truth of that preparation filled the chamber. Serac's voice rose, tight with anger. This is impossible. Humanity is only one species. You cannot hold the council accountable. You cannot dictate what is right or wrong in our halls. Evelyn stepped closer, her voice calm and firm. I do not dictate. I present what is real. Betrayal has a cost. Justice does not wait for permission. You allowed the destruction of our colonies. You allowed human lives to be lost. You have the chance now to make things right. You can surrender and accept responsibility, or you can refuse and face the consequences. A small delegate from the Andari sector, silver-skinned and nervous, whispered to a neighbor. She speaks with the weight of her people. We cannot ignore her. Another nodded subtly. Doubt had begun to grow within the ranks of the council. Fear and respect had replaced the arrogance they had once felt. Serac slammed a hand on the platform. Enough! You are a single human speaking to 1,000 voices. You cannot control what happens here. You do not understand our power. Evelyn tilted her head slightly, letting her calm resolve fill the room. I understand more than you think. I understand patience. I understand strategy. I understand justice. And I understand that humanity does not forget betrayal. You have been warned. Your choices now will be remembered by the galaxy forever. The murmurs grew louder. Delegates whispered urgently to each other, questioning Serac's authority. Doubt had become contagious. For decades, the Varel Alliance had ruled with confidence. Now that confidence cracked like thin ice over a dark abyss. Suddenly, the chamber lights dimmed. The holographic display expanded, flooding the room with images. Every destroyed human colony, every ship destroyed, every life lost, the evidence was overwhelming. The images moved slowly, deliberately, so that every delegate could see the consequences of their actions. Evelyn's voice carried over it all, calm but firm. You wanted to hide behind lies. You wanted to pretend nothing happened. The galaxy will not allow it. Humanity has delivered the truth. The fleets outside are proof that betrayal has consequences. The council cannot escape responsibility. Serac's hands clenched. Stop this display. You have no right. Evelyn interrupted, her voice steady. I have every right. I speak for those who cannot. I speak for billions who trusted your counsel and were betrayed. You have the choice, surrender and face justice, or continue denial and face what comes next. You cannot avoid it. You cannot escape it. The room was silent again. Even the smaller delegates, who had once whispered dismissively, now leaned forward with attention. The council had been fractured. Fear had entered their ranks. Some delegates approached each other privately, speaking in hushed tones. Doubt had taken root. The unity of the Varel Alliance was no longer absolute. Outside the Citadel, the human fleets adjusted their positions. Dropships hovered silently near the walls, scanners confirming that every point of entry was secure. The Armada moved with precision, every ship in place, every sensor active. Humanity did not strike yet. They waited for the Council to act first. The message had been delivered. The demonstration of power was complete. Evelyn turned to the chamber again. You may try to deny what has happened, but truth exists whether you accept it or not. The High Command allowed destruction. The Council ignored it. Now you will decide your place in history. You will either act with honesty, or you will be remembered for your lies and cowardice. A voice from the back of the chamber, an alien from the Athari sector, spoke quietly but clearly. She speaks truth. We cannot ignore it. Our people demand accountability. Another delegate, green-skinned and scaled, nodded in agreement. The council was beginning to fracture further. Serac's eyes burned with fury. You manipulate our delegates. You cannot control their thoughts. You are one human. Evelyn's voice was calm, carrying the weight of billions. I do not manipulate. I present evidence. I present truth. Your delegates are free to think as they choose. You will not dictate morality any longer. Humanity has arrived not with threats but with certainty. You cannot hide. Suddenly the floor trembled beneath them. Alarms rang. The holographic displays flickered. The Citadel's guards moved toward the exits in confusion. From above, human dropships had breached the outer defenses, silently moving into the lower levels. They were prepared to secure the building if necessary, but they did not fire. They were here to enforce presence, not destruction. Delegates gasped. Some ran to the walls to see what had happened. The images of ships moving within the Citadel caused panic. Xerak's anger turned into fear. For the first time, he realized that humanity's patience had limits. They had not yet attacked, but they had entered his halls. His own safety was no longer guaranteed. Evelyn stepped forward, calm and resolute. I gave you a chance to act. You chose denial. You chose lies. Now humanity is here to witness that betrayal has consequences. Surrender the high command, accept accountability, or face the result of your choices. The decision is yours. But understand this. The fleets outside will not hesitate to act if you do not. The chamber was quiet. Every delegate felt the weight of her words. The murmurs continued, but fear had replaced doubt. Some approached Xerak privately, urging him to consider surrender. Others whispered that resistance would be disastrous. Even those loyal to the Virel High Command began to reconsider their positions. Xerak's hands shook slightly as he leaned on the platform. The room was no longer under his control. Humanity's presence, Evelyn's calm authority, and the undeniable evidence of betrayal had shifted the balance. He realized that he had underestimated humans. He realized that patience had been mistaken for weakness. And he realized that now history was watching. Evelyn did not smile. She did not gloat. She remained calm, her presence steady. She let the weight of billions of humans speak through her. The council had seen the fleets. They had seen the evidence. They had seen the truth. Now, they had no choice but to act or face consequences. Finally, Xerak spoke, his voice low and tight. We will consider your demands. Evelyn nodded slightly. Consideration is not action. Justice requires decision. Choose wisely. Humanity has already waited longer than any of you can imagine. The choice is yours and history will remember it. The chamber fell silent again. Delegates whispered nervously. Outside, the human fleets maintained their positions, silent and ready. The Citadel trembled under the presence of ships that could destroy it, but had not yet moved. Humanity did not strike without reason. They struck only to protect truth. Evelyn stepped back, letting the room absorb the moment. She had delivered the message. She had shown the consequences. The council was fractured. Fear had replaced arrogance. Doubt had replaced certainty. Humanity had begun the reckoning, and soon, the full weight of accountability would follow. Evelyn Carter stood in the center of the council chamber, her calm presence commanding attention. The room was silent, every delegate tense and uncertain. The human fleets outside maintained their positions, a silent wall of power that reminded every alien of what betrayal had brought. The Citadel itself seemed to vibrate under the quiet energy of the Armada, and the weight of truth filled the halls. Xerak, the speaker of the Virel Alliance, had retreated to his platform. His glowing eyes were fixed on Evelyn, his posture rigid. The council had begun private discussions, some delegates questioning him, some openly siding with the human diplomat. The Virel High Command, once confident in its ability to manipulate and deceive, now faced the full consequences of its actions. Evelyn raised her voice, calm but firm. You have seen the fleets. You have seen the evidence. You have heard the truth. The time for delay is over. Humanity is patient, but patience has limits. You must act now, or you will face what follows: betrayal and denial. A delegate from the Andari sector, silver-skinned and small, stepped forward. We see that humanity speaks truth. The fleets, the evidence. We cannot ignore this. The High Command's actions were wrong. The council allowed it. We must act, others nodded. Whispers spread quickly through the chamber, growing louder. Aliens who had once defended the Virel leadership now spoke of accountability and justice. The council's unity, long considered unbreakable, was collapsing. Fear and truth had shifted the balance. Humanity's presence had shown that betrayal carried consequences beyond words. Zirak's voice was sharp, trembling slightly. You think a single human can command the council? You believe you can dictate terms? Evelyn's eyes remained steady. I do not dictate. I present what is real. Betrayal has consequences. The fleets outside exist not to threaten, but to ensure accountability. The council can act now to preserve what remains of honor, or wait and face destruction. The choice is yours. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. The delegates spoke quietly to each other. Some approached Zarak, urging him to consider surrender. Others whispered that resistance would lead to disaster. The human fleet's presence was undeniable. The evidence of destroyed colonies, stolen lives, and broken promises could not be dismissed. Zirak's hands clenched. And if we refuse? He asked, his voice low. Evelyn stepped forward slightly, calm and deliberate. Then the fleets will act to enforce justice. Humanity does not seek unnecessary destruction, but we do not allow betrayal to go unpunished. You have been warned. The choice is yours. History will remember your decision. The chamber shifted. Delegates from smaller sectors began to speak openly, some challenging Zirak's authority. We cannot stand with a leadership that allowed this, one said. We must act. Another delegate nodded. The galaxy will judge us all. The time for lies and denial is over. Zirak's glowing eyes flickered with anger and fear. He had counted on silence and submission. He had counted on the belief that one human could not influence 1,000 voices. He had been wrong. The truth had entered the room, carried on the calm shoulders of a single diplomat, and it had begun to dismantle centuries of arrogance. Finally, Zarak spoke, his voice tight. Very well. The Council will act. We acknowledge our mistakes. We accept responsibility for the High Command's actions. We surrender to the demands of humanity. A ripple of murmurs passed through the chamber. Evelyn nodded slowly, letting her calm authority fill the room. Acknowledgement is the first step. Responsibility is the next. Humanity does not forgive betrayal easily, but we are prepared to move forward if justice is done. The Treaty of Sol will be revised. New safeguards will ensure no species can ever be allowed to act without accountability. This is your opportunity to correct what has been broken. Delegates spoke quietly to one another, agreeing to the surrender. The Virel High Command itself was summoned to the chamber. Their leaders, once proud and untouchable, now faced human representatives directly. The fleets outside were ready to enforce consequences if they refused to comply. Admiral Jason Hale's voice came over Evelyn's communicator, calm but firm. We are ready to secure the High Command if necessary. Their compliance will ensure no further loss of life. The fleet waits your signal, Evelyn responded, her voice steady. Not yet. Let them make the decision freely. The consequences of betrayal are clear. Let history witness that they chose accountability before action was forced. The Virel leaders entered the chamber, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans' representatives. They were tall, proud, but fear was evident. The council had collapsed into uncertainty, and the weight of truth had shifted the entire room. Evelyn stepped forward, calm and deliberate. You betrayed trust, she said, her voice carrying the authority of billions. You allowed human lives to be destroyed. You lied to the council, to the galaxy, and to yourselves. Now you are here to answer. You will surrender control of the High Command. You will accept accountability. You will acknowledge the wrongs done to humanity and work to prevent such betrayal again. Your choice now will determine whether your names are remembered for dishonor or for the courage to correct mistakes. The Virel leaders hesitated. The fleets outside maintained perfect formation, scanners watching every movement. There was no aggression yet, but the threat of consequence was clear. They understood the magnitude of the situation. Zarak finally stepped forward, his voice low. We surrender. We acknowledge the mistakes of the High Command. We will cooperate fully. Humanity's demands will be met. We seek no further conflict. A wave of murmurs filled the chamber. Delegates nodded at each other, realizing the truth. Humanity had not come to negotiate weakly. Humanity had come to enforce justice, and the galaxy had seen the consequences of betrayal. Evelyn remained calm, her eyes steady on the Virel leaders. This is the first step toward restoration. The fleets will withdraw once the treaty is revised and safeguards are in place. Human colonies will be rebuilt. Cooperation will continue under the principles of accountability and respect. This is the path forward, chosen freely, not forced by destruction. Delegates spoke quietly, agreeing to the terms. The surrender was formalized. The High Command leaders signed the new agreements, their hands trembling slightly. The Virel had learned a lesson that would be remembered for centuries. Betrayal had a cost, and humanity had delivered it with patience, strategy, and calm authority. Outside the Citadel, the human fleets adjusted formation. The threat had passed. Ships moved in coordinated patterns, signaling readiness but also restraint. Humanity had demonstrated power without unnecessary aggression. The galaxy had witnessed a new order. Trust would no longer be taken for granted. Evelyn stepped onto the observation deck once more. She looked at the stars, the human fleets shining like guardians in the void. She thought of the colonies that had been lost, of the lives destroyed, and of the future they would now have a chance to build. Humanity had endured betrayal and faced it with strategy, patience, and resolve. They had survived, and they had ensured the galaxy understood that human life and honor were not to be ignored. Admiral Hale's face appeared on her communicator. It is done. The fleets will withdraw in 24 hours. The High Command is under human supervision until the treaty is implemented. Humanity has delivered justice without unnecessary bloodshed. Evelyn nodded. Good, let the galaxy remember this day. Let every species know that betrayal has a cost. Let them remember that humans are patient but not blind. That is enough for now. The Virel Council would never forget this day. The evidence of betrayal, the calm authority of one human diplomat, and the presence of the fleets had changed the balance of power forever. The galaxy had witnessed a new order, one in which truth and justice could not be ignored. As the human ships began to return to their stations, Evelyn felt a quiet pride. She had entered the halls of the council alone, carrying only truth and resolve. She had faced arrogance, lies, and fear, and she had emerged with humanity's honor intact. The treaty would be rewritten, colonies would be rebuilt, trust would be restored under the weight of accountability. Evelyn turned to look at Earth, a distant blue dot in the vast darkness of space. Humanity had endured betrayal, but they had responded with patience, strategy, and courage. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would last for generations. Humans do not forgive betrayal easily, but when they act with clarity and resolve. For the first time in decades, the stars seemed calm, peaceful. The fleets moved with precision, the council was fractured but accountable, and humanity's voice had been heard across the galaxy. Evelyn Carter, the human diplomat, had delivered her reckoning, and the galaxy had listened. She stood quietly, watching the stars, knowing that humanity had taken its place not only as survivors but as a force of justice, patience, and determination. The future was uncertain, but one truth was clear. Betrayal had a price, and humanity would always see it paid.